Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
I only God, Brahmapati God, Gardner, Ashto, Prithvi, Srimad, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada, Jai, Anand Koti, Voice, Jai, Nama Charger, Srila Haridas Thakur, Jai, James Kahosh, Krishna Vedanta, Prabhu Nityananda, Virat Kare, Viva Shadi Gaur, Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Ram Kundra, Jai, Vrindavan Tham ki Jai, Pradeep Tham ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Jai, Gangamai Jai, Jai, Multi Devi Jai, Jai, Samaveta Bhakti Jai, all glories be to the Lord, all glories, all glories over.
Hari Hari Bo. Thank you, Maharaj, and thank you everyone for being here for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Monday, September 5th, 2022, at least in the Western Hemisphere, and we are reading in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting tonight in the 7th chapter with verse number 19, as far as I know. And and Maharaj, you're on your phone because of connectivity issues?
Yeah, let's see what happens. It seems a little dodgy, and I don't know whether it was due to my connection or your connection. So, I but help. And if things get bad, there's a problem with the audio. That you know, that's tough.
Yeah. From our end, we're hearing a lot of audio dropping out. Your video signal's fine, but the audio is coming in and out, not so absolutely clear. I didn't get a chance to hear what it was like on the computer, but I'll
Computer was worse.
worse. Okay.
I've knocked out the video. I hope that will help the audio.
It actually does, unfortunately or fortunately. Maybe if the rest of us also knock out our audio, we can save bandwidth for today's broadcast. Anyway, I'll be posting the start verse in the chat box. And as always, we want to hear your questions and comments. And if you'd like to lead tonight's closing kirtan, you can follow in the footsteps of our indomitable Mahesh Pandit Prabhu and just start right in. And if you are the indomitable Mahesh Pandit Prabhu, you can start right in. So, Hare Krishna. Glad everyone could be here, and glad especially you could be here, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Kendra Prabhu, and welcome to all from Vrindavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yatsevaya Bhagavata Utastasya Matu Vishaha Gatira So Pate Tibra Padayor Vyasanardanaha. By serving the feet of the spiritual master, one is enabled to develop transcendental ecstasy in the service of the personality of Godhead, who is the unchangeable enemy of the Madhu demon, and whose service vanquishes one's material stresses. Purport. The association of a bona fide spiritual master, like the sage Maitreya, can be of absolute help in achieving transcendental attachment for the direct service of the Lord. The Lord is the enemy of the Madhudina. Or in other words, he is the enemy of the suffering of his pure devotee. The word Gati Rasaha is significant in this verse. Service to the Lord is rendered in different transcendental mellows, relationships, neutral, active, friendly, parental, and not. The living entity in the liberated position of transcendental service to the Lord comes back to one of the above mentioned mellows. And when one is engaged in transcendental loving service to the Lord, one's service attachment in the material world is automatic. As stated in Bhagavatam 2:59, Raso Vajram So Yasya Param Vishva Vivan Om Adyan Miran Tasya Yanam Shana Savadaya Saturn Militam Ena Tasmai Vivute Vipe Tanamano Vitam Tapitam Vivute Swayam Rupa Padam Tatati Tapapam we don't need to end it here. Someday, so be the Tapatamana, be Guru, Vaishnava, be Bhutam, Sadhisam, Sahadana, Sam, Sadvaitam, Sadhisam, Arjuna, Krishna, Devam, Devam, Sahadana, 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 be the Krishna Karuna Dina Bandho Satvate Oke Sattva Danta Radha Kansana Mokhe Bhakta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwarpani Devi Anamani Odhye Vansha Ko Yasha Vasto Yesha Sana Bhavneyo Vaishnaveyo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Vihare Vedanta Shiva Sattva Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Yat Sevaya Bhagavata Utastasya Madhya Gati Raso Eki Padi Guru Yat Seva by service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Gati Raso Eki one develops a strong, static, transcendental love in a direct relation with the king of God. The it's quite notable that we want to attain love for Krishna, we want to reach the ecstatic platform. We want to have realized our eternal relationship. And how is that done? How is that achieved? It's achieved by service to the, so to speak, Yat Sevya, by service. Seva Mukti. Yat Sevya. The rest of the verse describes the Lord. Bhutastha, the transcendental, created, Bhuticha, is the enemy of Bhagavad, or the enemy of rest of man. That's an art of vanquish, but especially, yes, and that service what it may be. Well, let's ask, is we have a fan running here. Is it audible, disturbing?
I can't hear the fan running, Maharaj, but one thing that occurred to me, since you're not using video, might it be possible for you to have the phone any closer to your mouth so that the audio signal might be more consistently strong?
That we can do. Is this better?
It certainly is.
Okay, good.
And let's
And
see,
this
let's turn the video also, Maharaj.
Tell
I
me
think it
again.
won't. You can turn on your video also.
I think, yeah, the distance of the
It won't be too much. That's good. And the microphone on your your closest you can get microphone.
Well, we'll see, because you seem to be dropping out a little bit there.
It looks good now, Maharaj. We can hear you.
All right. Again, if quality drops, let me know. Any questions so far?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Akendra Das. One thing I noticed about this, the verse, is that he uses the term, he is the unchangeable enemy of the Madhu demon. I thought that was interesting. I don't see that adjective applied so often, except in this particular case. Is there anything that you might like to say about unchangeable in this instance?
The kutastha is the word, which literally means situated on a peak, on a mountain peak. Kutastha. The Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur glosses it as fixed as Bhagavan over all time. Fixed as Bhagavan over all time. He's always God. Prabhupada said that about Krishna. He's God when he's on the lap of his mother. He's God when he's with his friends. He's God with his consort. He's always God. He's not the like the changeable, whimsical, feeble gods of this material world. He's unchangeably beyond time. So what can you say? Okay. First, he says, Well, if someone could read me what Saraswati says, or Saraswati.
I'll read it since she says, Param Puji Maharaj, a common argument I hear is that if all activities, just a moment, okay. If all activities of conditional souls are done in a dreamlike state, then there shouldn't be any consequences, because in dreams, whatever happens doesn't have any consequences like karma. Moreover, since conditional souls are all hallucinating, sinful activities of mad people should not be punished like in the material world. Criminal activities of madmen don't result in imprisonment, but sent to asylum.
Well, we're sort of mixing things here, because the vision in which everything is a dream is the overall vision. In that sense, one is never punished. One never incurs karma. One never creates karma. Only everything is going on in a dream. And when you wake up, there's no karma, there's no punishment, there's no nothing. So when we come to that level of vision, that's where we are. But when you're in the dream, then what you're doing is in the dream. What we're doing is creating consequences. So if you don't like the consequences, you may not want to take the action. If you run off a cliff in your dream, you may fall in your dream. If you wake up, that solves the whole problem. But until we awaken, we're better off not creating issues, as they say, for ourselves. That's a thought that would come to mind. Anyone else have a thought about it?
Tulsi Priya, please go ahead. Tulsi Priya has a hand up.
Hi, Krishna.
Yes. Tulsi Priya, please go ahead.
Hi, Krishna. I was just thinking that in dreams, we find ourselves in so many situations that we don't know how we got there. And frequently in real life, people will ask why,
Tulsi Priya has a hand up.
Hi, Krishna. Can I not be heard?
You're heard.
Can I not be heard? I was just thinking that in dreams, we find ourselves in so many situations that we don't know how we got there. And can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was checking out the YouTube transmission at the same time and I got the two mixed up. So let's say you're having a dream, or back up, sorry. Let's say somebody is born deformed or handicapped or disabled rather, and people will frequently use that and say, well, how, what is the point of karma if you're born a certain way and you don't know what you did for it? So in a similar way, it's like being in a dream. You'll find yourself in a dream in a situation and you don't know how you got into that situation. But in the real world, you may be born into a situation and you don't know how you got into that situation. But you were born into it, and that's your karma. So I'm not sure if I'm presenting it correctly, but it's like, things don't proceed logically in life either, that you think that there's immediate cause and effect. You may find yourself in all kinds of situations and you don't know why you're there, but it could be due to some past karma. Does that make sense?
I think it probably does. I wouldn't certify it 100%, but what I take away from that is that although we may not know how we got where we are, our business is to get out. How we wound up in the middle of a nightmare is we can discuss later. First, let's get out of the nightmare. I hope that's all right. Shall we continue?
Oh, Maharaj, I just had one other thing, if you don't mind, to say about the purport, where Prabhupada says, the Lord is the enemy of the Madhu demon, or in other words, he is the enemy of the suffering of his pure devotee. I just like that so much.
Yeah, and seems like Prabhupada's reading in parallel with Yasanardana. He's Madhudvisha and he's Yasanardana. So he's the enemy of the Madhu demon and the vanquisher of the distresses of the devotees. So they seem to be read in parallel, or the second term essentially defines the first. Yeah, and Krishna says he destroys material life. He destroys the devotee's material life just as he destroys the Madhu demon. Okay, let us move on. Yurapahyo Tapasa Seva Vaikunthavartmasu Yatropagiyate Nityam Deva Devo Janardanaha. Persons whose austerity is meager can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotees who are progressing on the path back to the kingdom of Godhead, the Vaikunthas. Pure devotees engage 100% in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of the demigods and the controller of all living entities. The path of liberation, as recommended by all authority, is to serve the Mahatma transcendentalists. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the Mahatmas are the pure devotees who are on the path to Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God, and who always chant and hear the glories of the Lord, rather than talk of dry, profitless philosophy. This system of association has been recommended since time immemorial, but in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, is especially recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even if one has no asset of favorable austerity, if he nevertheless takes shelter of the Mahatmas who are engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, he is sure to make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. The Durapa, it's difficult to get the association of pure devotee, but if one obtains it, one is most fortunate. Pramita, Pramanta Pramite Kon Bhagyavan Ki Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Vata Ki. The devotees are Vaikuntha Vartmasu on the path of going back to Godhead. The materialists are Mrityu Samsara Vartmasu. there on the path of repeated birth and death. The Durapa Opatapasa, Seva, I think, part. Yatra Upagiyate Nitya. On the path of devotional service, the Lord is always glorified by the devotee. Mahatmana Stuman Partha Daivim Bhajantyananya Manaso Kyatva Pitarimati. And the Lord is Deva Deva Janardana. He's the Lord of the Deva of the Devas, and he's the controller of all living entities. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes the point about Durapa Opatapasa, rarely obtainable by those who are meager in tapasya. He says that essentially this is a manner of speaking, but in fact, it's only by the mercy of the devotees that one can have the opportunity to serve the devotees, not by austerity. Not by austerity. No amount of austerity will enable one to achieve devotional service or even the association of devotees. But it's by the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of Guru Krishna Prasad. All right, any comments, questions?
We have a question from Sadhu Seva, which you may have already answered, or maybe there's a shade of meaning that you'd like to touch on. He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, my obeisances. If our austerity is meager beyond our control, in other words, due to circumstances we cannot engage 100%, does Krishna still allow us to obtain service of the pure devotees?
Yeah, I think now it has been answered that it's not by our qualification, not by, well, if you're really austere, you can get this, and if you're not so austere, well, tough. If you're really smart, you can get this. If you're not so brilliant, well, too bad. But it's by the mercy of the devotees. It's by the mercy of the devotees. Therefore, what is that? Gurudev, Kripabindu Diya, please just give a little of your mercy to devotee praise. That's more valuable than heaps of austerities or education or material piety or other qualifications. If one gets a little bit of mercy from the devotee of Krishna, at all good fortune can be. Anything else?
Since I have the opportunity to ask, Maharaj, there's the last sentence of the purport where he says, even if one has no such assets of austerity, if he nevertheless takes shelter of the Mahatmas, he's sure to make progress on the path back to Godhead. So we hear this term, taking shelter of pure devotees, taking shelter of the Mahatmas. And I would love to hear you say what form of service does this taking shelter take, or what is it? What are the various ways that one can take shelter? What does it mean, this taking shelter?
Well, I don't have a scriptural verse in mind, but just from the term itself, the taking shelter. And there's anyway. the dictionary has something to say about it, but it means we run. Just when there's a heavy rainstorm, you run under some sort of protective covering. When there's any kind of danger, a child runs to the protection of the parents. Yes. So there's formal, we have that term now in ISKCON, taking shelter, like a stage and accepting a spiritual master. I think there's something called Guru Ashray, something like that. It's one of the sort of becoming ISKCON thing, about which I have nothing bad to say. Noting it, but really taking shelter is I'm desperate. My material solutions aren't working, and they're never going to work. I don't see any solution like Krishna, like Arjuna, from Eva, Darshayamasa, something like that. Arjuna says, other than you, I see no one who can answer my questions. I see no one who can solve my problem other than you. So there's a sort of, there's surrender, there's a kind of giving up that no other shelter is going to afford me protection. And there we might see kind of desperation. A realization at least. And there's no place else to go. This is the only place where I can go. No, my family won't help me, my money won't help me, my education won't help me, my physical strength won't help me. Nothing will help me. But I can get absolute help, as Prabhupada said, from the spiritual master. Is that all right?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you very much.
Anything else? Shrishtvagre Mahadadini Savikaranyukamat Tevyo Virajam Udritya Tamanu Pravishad Vipu. After creating the total material energy, the Mahatattva, and thereby manifesting the gigantic universal form with senses and sense organs, the Supreme Lord entered within it. Purport. Fully satisfied by the answers of the sage Maitreya, Vidura wanted to understand the remaining portions of the creative function of the Lord, and he took the clue from the previous topic. The Vidura had been asking about the universal form. He'd been hearing about the universal form of the Lord and the process of creation. And now, after glorifying Maitreya Muni, he indicates that he wants to hear more about this topic. Any comments or questions here? Yamahurajam Purusham Sahasranghu Ahukam Yatra Vishva Ime Loka sa vikashanta asate. The Purusha incarnation, lying on the causal ocean, is called the original Purusha in the material creation. And in his Virat form, in whom all the planets and their inhabitants live, he has many thousands of legs and hands. Purport. The first Purusha is Karanodakshay Vishnu. The second Purusha is Garbhodakshay. And the third Purusha is Kshirodakshay Vishnu, in whom is contemplated the Virat Purusha, the gigantic form in which all the planets, with their different developments and inhabitants, are floating. All right, I have nothing further to add here. If anyone else wants to add something or ask something, feel free. Yasmin dashavita pranaha sendriyarthendriyas vivit vayerito ito varnas tadvibhukir padasvanaha. O great Brahman, you've told me that the gigantic Virat form and his senses, sense objects, and 10 kinds of life air exist with 3 kinds of life vigor. Now, if you will, kindly explain to me the different powers of the specific divisions. So we, in essence, Vidura is asking for details of the universal form and the various categories of truth, or various yes that exist within him. Yatra putrais chapotrais cha vat vibhi sahagotra jaihe Vichitra Kutaya Asan Yavir Dantatam. O my Lord, I think that the process manifested in the forms of sons, grandsons, and family members has spread all over the universe in different varieties and species. Prajapatinam sapatis Shaktape Tan Prajapatim Sargam Strivan Sargam Stra Manun Manvantaradipan. O learned Brahmin, please describe how the leader of all the demigods, namely Prajapati, Brahma, decided to establish the various manus, the heads of the ages. Please describe the manus also, and please describe the descendants of those manus. More one. So, as we'll find in the rest of this chapter, Vidura is asking many questions of the sage Maitreya. He's really laying out a lot of territory that he hopes will be explored. Any questions here?
Yes, Maharaj, I have a question
Yes.
on slok number 22. in the purport, the first Purush is Karanodakshai Vishnu, the second Purush is Garvodakshai Vishnu, and the third Purush is Kshirodakshai Vishnu, in whom is contemplated the Virat Purusha, the Jayādvaita form. Now the question is, in whom meaning what? In Kshirodakshai Vishnu or?
That's what it would be. That's where the grammar leads us.
Oh,
Let
okay.
me see if anything else. Yeah, and Vishwanath confirms. He says this is a description of. Well, no, he doesn't confirm. He says the opposite. He says this is a description of Karnadakshai, in whom all the planets exist. So, yeah, and usually that's what we would think of in terms of the universal form. We would think of Karnadakshai Vishnu or of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, not of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. But to the Prabhupada, seems to say it's Kshirodakshai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
What does Murari Gupta Prabhu have?
Murari Gupta Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, I'm curious over whether Mahavishnu stays lying down for many consecutive creations, or if he wakes up and then later creates again.
Your Karanar Navajale Bhajati Smayoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanda Suroma Kripa Atada Shakti Navalam Govinda Mahari. He is lying down and the universes are coming from his pores like little bubbles. When he exhales, the universes are manifest. And when he inhales, they're destroyed. So he's lying down for a long time. The universes are, it's not just that he lies down once and exhales once, and there you have it, the creation. But he's lying down, and every time he takes a breath, every time he exhales and inhales, we have the whole cycle of creation and destruction of not only one universe, but innumerable universes. Is that okay? Now, moving back. Uparyadhaschaye loka umir mitrat najasate tesham sangstam pramanam sha urlokasya chavarnaya. O son of Mitra, finally describe how the planets are situated above the earth as well as underneath it. And also, please mention their measurement as well as that of the earthly planet. Purport. Yasmin vigate sarvamevam vigatam bhavati. This Vedic hymn declares emphatically that the devotee of the Lord knows everything material and spiritual in relationship with the Lord. Devotees are not simply emotional, as is still conceived by certain less intelligent men. Their direction is practical. They know everything that is, and all the details of the Lord's domination over the different creations. So here there's an inquiry about the planetary systems. This will be elaborately answered in the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And here Srila Prabhupada says that the devotee knows everything, material. Elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada said that the devotee knows what Krishna wants him to know. The devotee knows what Krishna wants. All right. Any other questions or comments?
We have a question from Sadhu Seva on this purport. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, quote, devotees are not simply emotional, unquote. Does he mean sentimental, or is he talking about mundane material emotions?
Well, sentimental. The common stereotype is that the followers of the bhakti path are people of the heart. The Gyanis are the people of the head, and the bhaktas are the people of the heart. So the bhaktas have nice sentiments, they have devotion, but they don't have much to say in terms of philosophical understanding. They don't have much to contribute there. That's the stereotype. And even sometimes that's the path, that's the profile that the so-called devotee takes. He's not interested in books, he's just interested in love and devotion, and so he makes a show of fervent devotion to the Lord, but he doesn't know the science of devotional service, and so often his fervent devotion to the Lord is mixed with similar devotion to the material energy of the Lord. So that kind of sentimental devotion is not wanted. Again, we come to that favorite line of Nectar of Instruction, the devotional sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Not sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy, but its substance is practical service. All right. Anything else? Tiryam Manusha Devanam Saristrapa Patatrinam Vadana Sarga Samdhyuham Arpa Sveda Vijodvidam. Also, please describe the living beings under different classifications: subhumans, humans, those born of the embryo, those born of perspiration, those who are twice born, vijas, the birds, and the plants and vegetables. Kindly describe their generations and subdivisions also. The birds are also called Dvija. I think sometimes the acharyas have fun with the different possible meanings of Dvija. But the bird, first the egg appears, and then the bird is born of the egg. So he's called, the bird is called Dvija, or twice born. Anything else here?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I was just thinking as I'm reading all these questions of Vidura that he's really in the ecstasy of wanting to know a whole lot of things. You know, he wants... And Tulsi Priya has a question. She says, I have difficulty with the idea of living beings born of perspiration. What are some examples?
Vishwanath says worms and stinging insects, etc. I don't really understand this one either. Sweta born of perspiration. We hear that they're kind of like microscopic beings or something of that nature, but I don't understand it. We understand the first two, born of the embryo, born of eggs, but born of perspiration is something of a mystery to me.
Tulsi Priya says, bacteria are the only ones I can think of.
Yeah. I can't add anything on this one. I'm quite stumped by it as well. Great job. It is a category referred to in various passages. I don't really know. Anything else? I think we can jump into Kirtan.
I guess we can have some kirtan now, Maharaj.
All right.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Om Prad Paramansa Prad Charja Sto Srimad AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prad Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Nama Charja Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vivad Sadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Sri Radha Krishna Sham Kund Radha Krishna Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ramamani Jai Ramamani Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Gurudev.
Hare
I can't start the video. Thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you.
Video won't start.
So, Maharaj, you are
Thank
in
you.
Vrindavan Dham now.
Yes, we've come to Vrindavan yesterday. I traveled, just getting time here. But yes, and many people are here in Vrindavan, especially the side of they're going out on pilgrimage for about 10 days.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Tulsi Priya.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you everyone for being here, for listening and participating. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai.
Sorry.
Jayādvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Haribol.
Haribo.
Hey,